Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day it is, or bon dias, buongiorno, guten tag, g'day for my Australian followers. So yes, we are here on another wonderful podcast, which I think I've called this particular podcast Inspirational People, because we have a lot of amazing inspirational people. And today is no exception. If I was to wave one of these medals along, which is a British Masters gold medal, this man won a gold medal literally last week. And without further ado, let's bring him on. It's none other than Joseph. Good afternoon. How you doing?
Donato. Good afternoon. Very well, thanks. And you?
I'm great. I'm great. Thank you so much for taking the time to coming on the show and being a British Masters champion. How does it feel having that lovely gold medal? Show us your gold medal. Go on.
Yeah, I'm going to show
I've got one. Show me
there
yours.
It is. There it is, mate. There it is.
Oh, isn't that good?
M55, absolutely. Fantastic.
Yeah, so just to clarify, you are the M55 10-mile British Masters Roads champion, current road champion.
Correct.
How does that feel?
It feels great. I mean, I've got 3 of these medals.
Yeah.
And the 1 bronze and 1 silver. And this competition is tough. It never gets easier.
Yeah.
When I was an M50, I thought I'll go into the M55. I'll be young in that age group. I should get more success. It just the quality is phenomenal. So to come away with a medal, and and be able to call yourself the British 10-mile road champion, it's great. I'm hoping I'll get more.
Well, this is what we're talking about. So for a lot of people, they may not have heard you, Joseph, and who you are, what you do. I mean, being a British Masters road champion, it doesn't bring us like for the Olympics and all that type of stuff. We don't get any of the coverage, and that's why I like to bring people like yourself onto the show, because I think we need to give recognition for some amazing athletes. We had some amazing guests, but just give us a bit of a background about yourself, Joseph, when you got started in running, because you, similar to myself, you were sort of late to start. So there's going to be a lot of people watching who may be in their 30s and 40s and never ran. When did you get started, Joseph, and what brought you into running, and maybe a bit of a background of life, university, everything?
Yeah. I mean, I started running in late 2015. I was 46.
Wow.
I'm now obviously 55. So I've been running 9 years, and I've it's been a phenomenal sort of journey. But in the first instance, I started running for health reasons, really. I was overweight. Quite overweight. 20 kilos more than I am today.
20 kilos. Wow.
20 kilos. That's 3 stone odds, 3.5 stones.
I was going to say, what's that in pounds, shilling, and pence?
Yeah, 3.5 stone heavier. Yeah.
Pounds.
And
in pounds, that's.
Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure what.
It's a lot. Everybody can Google that.
They can Google it. It's a lot. And I also, I had I must have had some health issues, because I had periods when just short dashes, like, for example, to catch a train. And this actually happened. I did a short dash, try and get on the train on time once, and got on the train. It was quite full. And I just suddenly got extremely dizzy and started feeling extremely concerned that I was coming down with a heart attack or something. And I just collapsed on the train.
Oh, wow.
And others caught me, but I sort of came to quite quickly, and they guided me to a nearest seat. That was kind of an indication that I had to do something about.
That must have been scary. God,
it was scary, and it wasn't. And I actually passed out, and I've, that happened to me on several other occasions as well. I didn't actually pass out on several other occasions, but felt very faint. So, I mean, I came into running initially simply just to be healthier and lead a healthier lifestyle. And actually, it's my daughter who said to me in that year, she wanted to go out running, for her own health and to lose a bit of weight. My daughter at the time was a teenager, but I went out with her, and we did a few runs together, and being a typical teenager, I was going to say, but she stopped running after 2 weeks. But I kind of just thought, actually, I'm really enjoying this, so I carried on, and so that was my first taste of actually starting to run.
Wow.
And as with everything else, I really sort of began to get really interested in it, and got the bug and started to Google all about running, and because it's also my mindset is to do it as to the best of my ability. So while initially it was a health thing, I then started to Google how to train, to get some running plans right almost from the off, quite very early on, even though I wasn't planning on competing actually. But so I went through all of that and saw improvement quite quickly. So it was basically that's how I started.
That's brilliant. So 9 years. So it's similar to myself. We've been running a similar amount of time, but that's how you started. But obviously things then got a bit serious, didn't they? Where you suddenly realized, oh, maybe. So you literally got a plan straight away and got good, but then you took it a step further, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. So I'd always wanted to, no, well, not always wanted. I wanted to do the London Marathon because when I started to get really interested in running, I thought I'd really love to do the London Marathon. I know what I'll do. I'll just apply, I'll get in, and I'll go and run the London Marathon. But as you know, it's not that easy to get into the London Marathon. It's like there are people who take a whole decade to get into the London Marathon. So I thought, well, and I did apply, and I obviously didn't get in. And I thought, well, how am I going to get in? And I realised there's this avenue to get in, which is via a good for age.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know what? That's it. I'm going to go for that. Right. And so that was like, we're now talking about late 2016, early 2017.
Yeah.
I thought, right, I want to go. I want to do London Marathon one way or another. And so Brighton Marathon came up as an option. I thought, well, and I'm not far from there. I live in Surbiton, in sort of Surrey, Greater London borders, and it's not far to go to Brighton. And I thought, right, I'm going to go. I'm going to try and do that one. Okay, so obviously you don't need to, you can just apply and get in at the right time. I think it may have been April 2000. I can't quite remember when exactly, but and so I applied to get into the London Brighton Marathon and got in, and then I joined the club. So that's like 2 years, or about 2 years after I started running, because up until then I just wanted to, I just ran alone. I just went out there, put my earphones in, and just listened to music and did my own thing with the running plans and all the rest of it. But I thought, I'm going to need some help here in order to get advice from more experienced folks. So I joined the club, the 26.2 Road Runners Club, which is here in Surbiton where I live, and I just jacked up the mileage. I had been increasing the mileage over time. I would never do that immediately, and something I understood, that I had to do, and I ran. And the other big thing then was you could compete within the club environment. You could run with groups, which I did, and all of that sort of really helped. I picked people's brains around their training for the marathon, and all of that helped me to get to Brighton in pretty good shape, actually.
Because you ran a phenomenal time, didn't you? First marathon. What was by the way, what was the target time for a good for your age at that time?
Oh, at that time I was in my 40s still, so I think it might have been, I can't quite remember, if I'm honest, 310 or 305 or 310, something like that.
And what time did you run it in though, Brighton?
301.
Yeah,
I know. I was so
baby.
chuffed. I was so chuffed.
I bet you were thrilled with that.
Yeah, I was really thrilled, and that was running in a pair of Asics. What was it? Nimbus, I think it was.
Cayano Nimbus 28.
Yeah, I had all of those shoes back in the day. This is kind of pre super shoe era. More or less. Which goes to show you can still run phenomenal times even in those old shoes. But so it was fabulous. I got my good for age, and I was as pleased as punch. London, here I come.
And it was London the following year that you ran London Marathon.
2019. The first opportunity to get in, I applied. Yeah.
You went straight for it. Now I'm guessing when London came around, you ran in another phenomenal time when that came along. Because you would have had a year of training.
A year of training. Yeah, I had a year of training, and trained even more mileage during that marathon block to get to London. I had in the interim had a lot of club run events. I got faster at the 5K, got faster at the 10K. I think all of that helps. And plus, as I said, I'd been in that group environment. And I actually won the my age category for the Royal Parks half, which is I don't know, 15 to 20,000 runner event in London.
Big event,
big event in London. That was in 2018. So in 2019, I did London and I ran it in 2:46, just over 2:46.02. Yeah.
So from 3:01 to 2:46 in a year. So running of 3 hours is phenomenally fast as a start point. So a lot of people may think, oh, you got lucky, but you'd been running for 2 years before you joined the club. And then you'd been training, was it about a year with the club before you'd ran that Brighton Marathon? So you'd had 3 years of solid training behind you.
Absolutely.
So would you say your background helped, or do you think, did you do a lot of hiking beforehand? I'm sort of leading you in terms of what did you do before you were a runner? Were you some kind of mega athlete?
No.
Were you active in some way?
No, I mean, as I say, so I have to go right back into my teens, and into my childhood actually, because there was a long period of time. Obviously, I'd got into a position where I was overweight and not able even to run for a bus or a train, that kind of thing, without something happening. But when in my childhood, and in my teens, I was an extremely keen footballer. So I think that would have helped. I was pretty quick as a footballer. I think there were signs then that I was that I had something.
Were you a centre forward or winger, midfield?
No. I played in various positions initially, and I played in midfield. I played for 2 Spanish clubs here in the UK, in London.
Okay.
Because there's strong Spanish communities in London. I played for 2 clubs. One of them now, it used to be called Centro Gallego, is now called Deportivo Galicia, and I think it's an 8th tier non-league club now.
Wow.
Yeah,
Deportivo Galicia. Well, I was in Galicia only last year. Well, there you go. See.
But both my parents from Galicia. Yeah. So I play. So what is now Deportivo Galicia. And we played, Saturday and Sunday league football. In the end, I settled in a defence right back position, so that became my position.
Yeah.
And I played that. For years. Not clearly the fitness you gain from participating in that kind of sport, I think stays with you. I think it's something that Phil Cooper said on one of your earlier podcasts, that you accumulate fitness and you store it, and and so I think so I think definitely that was something that was a big boon.
I think, as you say, it probably helped in some way, but as with a lot of us, we all have a certain what we do at school, and then there's almost like family then comes along, and then we change our priorities, and then I think the phrase, and this is no offense to the dads out there, we're both dads, aren't we? There's this phrase called the dad bod, and which is basically we start to put on a few pounds, or if those who do cycling, there's the mammal, middle-aged men in lycra, where we've got a bit of a tummy, shall we say. But I mean, what's great though, Joseph, even though you had that gap from the football and that, and we can maybe talk about some of the other sports we'll talk about. Is that, as you say, it does come back, and maybe it's a message to those, because a lot of people get injured or have, setbacks in their running. It doesn't go away, does it? It does come back.
It does,
and how quick it comes back and what level we get back to and go beyond, and that's for every different individual. But certainly the football or soccer, to our American friends watching, by the way, when Joseph's saying football, it's soccer.
I mean soccer, yeah. I mean
because
soccer,
in Europe we have proper football, not NFL.
Football you play with your feet as opposed to with your hands. Yeah.
Throwing the odd-shaped ball. But it certainly helped. I mean, I have interviewed other footballers and some basketball players who were playing professionally and then took up running, tennis as well. I think almost anything that keeps us active. And as you've said, previous guest, is an accumulation of health. So you clearly catapulted, but you're now at a level, as you say, it's very competitive at Masters level. Do you think it's not just about fitness? Do you think it's a mindset thing as well?
No, I do. I mean, as I was saying a bit earlier, almost from the off when I started running, I just wanted to. For me, it wasn't about running socially and I mean that's a great thing about running. Of course, you can run socially, have good chats and all the rest of it. But I came into it with a plan from the very start. I wanted to improve. I wanted to be the best I could be and the fastest I could be. And in the football, one thing I didn't say about the football is, I got to a point where I played in an amateur World Cup for Spain at the time, in the mid-90s. And so I got to a pretty proficient level, and I it was a kind of a determination to want to sort of play at a certain level for my own pride and all the rest of it. And that's not just in football, but I've played snooker to a pretty reasonable level as well. And back in the days when snooker was, a big sport. It could, yeah. But it was a much more popular
darts
sport.
Is coming back, It
is. That 17-year-old. What's his name again? He did brilliantly, didn't he?
Yeah.
But I'd go into playing snooker, and I played with pros at the time.
Tony Drago, I think you mentioned.
Drago. I played with Tony Drago. I played with Eugene Hughes. Yeah, I played with Peter Ebdon.
Wow.
Peter Ebdon was at the King's Cross Club that I played at in the mid-80s. I remember when he made his first 100 break, and I knew
Amazing.
him from before he of course went on to become world champion. But I played with some in handicap competitions at the club I was at. I played with some really good players. I mean, I was never at their level. I mean, clearly they were phenomenal players, but I was a pretty decent player. I made a maximum break of 96.
Wow!
And I'd regularly, shoot, make breaks of 30, 40, and that would be enough to finish many players at sort of club level. So I was a pretty decent player, yeah. But also golf later in life in the noughties, I went into golf. I got coached, I paid for loads of coaching in golf. I mean, I was never a brilliant player, but I got down to a capable sort of decent-ish player. So I got down to a 16 handicap. But one thing I did develop was an absolute textbook swing. I mean, it was, I used to practice all the time. God, I broke some light fixtures and all the rest of it. But I mean, I had a pretty good swing.
That is an incredible mix of sports there, Joseph. But the common thread I'm hearing from that is you clearly have a determination, which is the D. Those who've joined the D Club over on Strava. Yes, the D as in determination. The mindset thing, I think a lot of people, I don't know what your views are, Joseph. Some people, in fact, on the previous guest, I've not published it yet. Certainly she had an absolute mindset of, endurance athletes. Marathons I would include, but when people start doing ultras and Ironmen, where you're literally out for 10 hours, 15 hours, 20 hours, and there's clearly stuff that's going on up there where, you clearly have that determination and positive mindset that keeps you going. So do you think it's translatable across all those types of sports that you've done, whether it's holding no disrespect to snooker, holding a stick and hitting balls, as opposed to kicking a ball or running with a ball, all that type of stuff, and now running without anything, just you and your arms and legs? Is it a common trait, you think, the determination?
It's all about mindset, I think. I mean, the psychological, I can't even say the word. The psychology of sport is so important to have that belief.
Yeah.
That belief that you can succeed. Don't let anyone sort of say you can't. In fact, one of the big advantages of me running alone for a couple of years was that I didn't hear, you're such and such an age, this is an expectation of that we would have of someone of that age. And I just thought, what I thought. I was determined, and I absolutely, and if you have that belief, you can. I think I truly believe that anyone really, if they've got also the willing to work hard and train hard and so on, they can, you can. It's open to anybody to achieve a high standard, I think. In running, you just got to believe you can do it and carry on and just do it, and get advice from people who know, and seek advice on training, on nutrition, on strength and all the rest of it, and just go and achieve your goals.
I think you've literally, in my mind, I had the next thing, coaching. I heard both in your running, you took on a coach and the running club, and also in your previous sports to get yourself to a higher level. Like with golf, you said you went straight away seeking coach. How do you feel that's benefited you? Has it got you from A to B quicker, more direct? How have you found coaching?
I mean, absolutely. I'd say it was, in my case, central to me having elevated my game to become a national and international runner. Actually, my coach, Kevin Quinn at Team Real Runners, he actually put the idea in my head in the first place that I should consider going international. He talked about national level championships at a time in 2020. This is as COVID was hitting, and very little competitions were off and all the rest of it. But at a time when I didn't believe I could do any of that. It hadn't even occurred. It hadn't occurred to me, and at a time when I couldn't put it into practice and see what the results were, but I had faith, and it's something I wanted to do. I always want to try and be the best version of myself as possible, and he took me on a journey of getting me to do the right things, training wise and nutritional wise and all the rest of it, getting me to do all the right things and playing the long game, really. And without him, I don't think I would have even possibly not have attempted it.
It sounds like Kevin had an amazing positive impact on yourself, but I think there's 2-3 types of people. There's those who learn from their mistakes, and those who learn from others' mistakes, and those who don't learn anything and just keep making the same mistakes. So you're certainly in that category where you're learning from others. I always say it's great to listen to people who actually know what they're talking about, professionals, and seeking them out. Running clubs as well, when you mentioned running with other people, that seems to have taken you to another level as well. And obviously camaraderie. I know you mentioned in one of your briefings when we were chatting is you love going to these masters events because there's a lot of camaraderie. You get to meet the same faces, you see the same faces. You obviously enjoy that, Joseph.
Fantastic. I mean,
and you've
absolutely.
travelled abroad as well, representing GB.
Yes, Britain. I have. I've been to Gothenburg, to Poland.
The location in Poland, I love the name of that town. It's
Torun.
Torun, but it's
spelled Torun. Oh, yeah, it is spelled Torun. I call it Torun, but
T-O-R-U. No, you've pronounced it correctly, but I read it as to run. I mean, of all the places in the world to have world championships, let's go to run.
Absolutely.
How did you find Poland?
Oh, yeah, I think in 2023, it was really cold, but it was indoors. The two Torun championships, one was a world and one was European masters. They were both indoors. So and I did 10K outdoors. I remember 2023 was really cold. But actually, you know, I think one of the reasons I enjoy the whole running scene so much, and I'm still in it after 9 years, is just you get to meet loads of brilliant people.
Yeah.
Inspirational people. You know, we all have, you know, the same passion of running in minds, and you know, it doesn't matter who we individually are, what we do, or where we're from, or anything else. We just love running, and we love being in each other's company and talking about running, and some, you know, very generous other runners with their own advice and with their own, it's, you know, it's phenomenal. The running community is a really strong community, and you know, that's definitely one of the big reasons I do it, really.
Absolutely brilliant. I have to highly recommend, if you get the opportunity, whilst I appreciate they've had World Championships at Turon, is to go to the Gdansk half marathon. And
oh yeah.
I was there a few years ago, and they have like a weekend of events. I don't know whether it's still now, but in Poland and in other European countries, I find that the way they organize events is very methodical, very regimented, and very big. They really do love, and also they do take a lot of pride with masters runners, where they give out trophies at the end of the event to all age categories, male, female, all age groups. Everybody gets a trophy, and they're really nice trophies as well, like big metal things, you know. So
is it a good flat one?
Ish. Yeah, I would say for most people, I guess people who do ultras in mountains, they would say it's flat as a pancake. And to people who run flat half marathons,
it's undulating,
mildly undulating. No, it is relatively flat. But the beauty of Gdansk, it's a beautiful city. There's so much history there. And I just went there for the tourism and everything, so I didn't know about it till a friend mentioned it. And we went out together. You get cheap flights with Swift Airlines and all sorts.
Yeah. Well, I went via Gdansk when I went to Poland, so I didn't stop in the city for too long. But yeah, I'll look out for that one.
It's definitely. But you've done other races overseas. Do you have any favourite ones, favourite countries that you've been to, or is?
Oh well, I mean, probably my favorite race is probably not going to be a surprise. The Berlin Marathon was oh my goodness. I mean, that is such a fast course. If you ever get a chance to do it. And you know, the conditions there, certainly the last few years, and when I did it, you know, they've been great as well. I don't suppose it's always like that, but it seems to be. You know, at that time of year, it doesn't, not that wet, not that windy. We're not wet at all actually when I did it.
What year was it you did it?
That was 2022, and actually that particular year, I got injured 7 weeks out from the actual marathon. I was injured, and I couldn't run for 3.5 weeks. I think I missed 4 weekends of long runs, and but I had done quite a lot of work before that in terms of marathon training, so I was in pretty good shape, and I did the last 3 weeks, I think it was, big mileage, didn't do a typical taper. You know, I just tried to push it right up until pretty close into the Berlin, and ran a 2:44, so that was a PB.
Wow.
And so I'm convinced I would have been, you know, lower 240s, you know, possibly. My target is sub 240 at some point. Well, this year actually. This year,
yes, 2025. Berlin, I mean, I done it last September, and the way you just described it, Joseph, was verbatim how it was last September. No wind, perfect temperatures. The atmosphere there is electric. It is absolutely packed with people. I know it can be a bit overwhelming for some people because you are literally packed in like sardines.
At the start.
At the start.
You're literally. I think I caught COVID there actually, because I came back and then I tested positive for COVID. So I think I may have well been at the start.
There's a good advert for the Berlin Marathon. No, and also before you even get to the start, there's people jumping into bushes and trees because there's parks either side. Yes, you did too.
I had to do that. You know, you can't run on a absolutely
on a full bladder. No, but I loved it. I mean, Frankfurt as well is fantastic. But again, as I said earlier, there's something about overseas marathons. Don't get me wrong, I do love British events, British marathons, but I think overseas they take it to another level of, you know, in terms of the whole thing that they do. But It's interesting you say Berlin's your favourite. It is a super fast, flat course. I would say Gdansk is similar-ish, not as flat, but flattish. Yeah, it is. I mean, some people who are watching have done Gdansk will probably leave in the comments saying, flat as a pancake, what are you talking about? There was a bridge. All I can say is there was a bridge. And as we know, bridges aren't totally flat. And it is towards the end. But apart from that, it is almost flat as a pancake.
The concept of flat is subjective, isn't it? Completely
exactly, right. Exactly. As I said, where I live in the mountains here at the Malvern Hills, it's called Malvern Hills, not Malvern Mountains, is the local trail runners say that any road event is flat. Because obviously there's hills there.
I also just wanted to say Valencia. I did Valencia Marathon.
Oh, yes.
And that was, I also really enjoyed that one. I didn't do so well. I had to miss London in October that year. That was 2021, because I actually tested positive for COVID the night before.
Oh,
yeah. So I couldn't run London. But then, I applied. You can get into Valencia quite easily if you go through their kind of queuing system. In sort of like October, during October, November, you can actually get in. So I did Valencia, and although I didn't run my best time, I think I ran 2:53 or something like that. It is a really, really good course as well. It's a really fast course, and as you will have seen from sort of the times that have been posted in the last couple of Valencia races, and people posting PBs all over the place, and so that's another one. But I enjoyed that one too.
It's brilliant, isn't it, having that opportunity to do that. You mentioned that with the snooker and things like and the attitude and the coaching has helped. Would you say, do you follow any, and we'll go on to the training that you do in terms of an outline of a week, but do you follow any strict diets, Joseph, in terms of what you eat? Do you watch what you eat? Do you count your calories, your macros, your micros? Or are you the kind of person who, you just eat what you feel like eating? Are you obsessive about your foods and drinks, what you do each day?
I think at the beginning when I started running, I weighed everything even.
Really? Oh, wow.
I literally went that far to weigh.
Did you have all the Tupperware meals ready for your week?
Yeah, I had a weigh. Not quite, but I still do this. I still record all of my food on my Fitness Pal, which I think he did. I think.
Yeah.
I do that. I log all my calories. The calories I burn from my running go straight from my watch through Garmin into my Fitness Pal. So I'm always keeping an eye on balancing that.
Yeah.
I used to keep an eye on the macros, the proteins, the carbohydrates, the fat, and all the rest of it. I don't do that so much now.
Not now. Right.
But I used to. But nevertheless, I think I have a pretty good diet. I eat well. I eat healthy foods. My one weakness is I've got a bit of a sweet tooth.
Chocolate.
Dark chocolate.
Dark chocolate. I've heard dark chocolate is good for us.
In moderation.
Not by the truckload.
Not by the truckload, no. But so I do have some weaknesses on that. But on the whole, I think I eat quite well, and I make sure I'm hydrated and the rest of it. Yeah.
You do drink regularly. I think the hydration and then the sleeping, do you monitor, do you have a Whoop band or do you monitor your sleeping on your gadgets?
I do. I do actually go to bed with my Garmin watch. But it mainly just tells me that I don't sleep very well.
It's a bit like you finished a run, it says you're unproductive.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not having that.
Exactly. Yeah. You're looking at it thinking, oh, well, thanks for telling me that. I mean, what can I do about it? But I mean, I do my running around my job, and it's pretty stressful, and I have to do longish hours and all the rest of it. So I have to fit my running around that. And occasionally, quite often, I don't sleep particularly well, but it's just the way it is. I still get out there. I don't make excuses. You just have to get out there and do the training, and get on with it, basically.
Well, exactly. I think if we go on to the types of people, two types: those who make excuses and those who make things happen. So, but you mentioned you obviously have a full-time job, family, people, job to do, fitting in training, masters. You're sort of like top level. You're getting gold medals. How do you work out what to do? Do you plan ahead your week? Do you work a schedule? Do you have it all? It's interesting you mentioned MyFitnessPal, which I think I've done a review like decades ago, having done a fitness app myself. And MyFitnessPal was the #1 fitness app at the time. It is a great way of monitoring, maintaining stuff. How do you plan your week to fit in your training? Because I presume your coach, does the coach do that for you, or do you do that yourself? Do you merge it together? Do you have a chat every week? How does it all work for you, Joseph?
No, I mean, the coach looks after the plan. I will target races. So I know, for example, in 2025, I've got London Marathon to target, and I've got particular goals for that. Sub 240 is the goal for that. And I've got the European Masters in Madeira in October. So they're the main races, and I'll have a whole host of B races in between. But those are what I keep my sort of my eye on in terms of achieving my goals. And the coach sort of produces a plan every couple of weeks that helps to get me there, basically. And I will converse with him on what's the shape of the plan and where we're going to and what the overall periodization is and when we're going to do certain things. And I then make sure, work I have to do, but then I make sure I've made time, either it's very early in the morning or it's after work, to follow through with a plan, basically. In fact, during September, October, November of the year just gone, 2024, he even set me double thresholds, which is there was quite a lot of volume as well. So it was 28k of volume on a double threshold day, up to 28k of volume, which is quite a lot of volume. But I just get up really early. There's 24 hours in the day, and you just got to make the best use of that time. And I got out the door at 6 a.m., did my run in the morning, and then after work went out, did my run. Then that's it. You just get on with it, really.
It sounds it's a very, what I would call a stoic attitude. You just get on with it. There's no song and dance about it. It's that simple for you, isn't it, Joseph? So you plan that out each week or every fortnight, so I presume your work schedule could sometimes change, so do you have to juggle some things around? So you might have to do the run at lunchtime or something, or
I hardly ever do my runs at lunchtime, but I might push it later. So if I have to work later, I'll work later, and then I'll push the run until later. But I'll always make sure I get it done. I no excuses. If you want to, anyone can, achieve a very good level, but no excuses. You have to, you've got to put the work in. And if it's raining outside, if it's cold outside, and you've worked until late, well, it doesn't matter. As far as I'm concerned, the run gets done. So
exactly. It's funny you mentioned the weather, because the day that we're recording this, for those who know, in the UK, we've had I don't know, it's like down your neck of the woods, Joseph, but up here we had a bit of a sprinkling of snow. But the forecast was, as per, completely wrong. However, further up north, there has been some extreme snow. So what do you do when you've got deep snow outside and you've got to get a long run done?
We don't get much of it down here in London, to be fair. Today, you had snow, but today we had more rain and it was really wet. I had to go around loads of big puddles. But of course, if it's snowing, if it's raining or whatever, just dress up appropriately, get the right footwear on, moderate your pace if you have to. You don't want to slip and fall over. But it's better to go out there and do something than to do nothing. If you've got a treadmill, which I actually have got a treadmill, to be fair, in my garage, but I don't use it that much because I just prefer to go out, and I'm quite happy to be rained on or whatever. I actually just prefer to do it on the road. I may sometimes use the treadmill, and usually it's for like a half-hour easy running if I'm doing a double day, and I'll do it in the morning, usually for that kind of thing. But otherwise, I'll try and go out. I prefer to go out.
Similar to myself, there was an instance there where I think we had about 2 foot of snow where I was at the time. So I literally waded through the snow to get to the gym at 8 in the morning on a Sunday morning. And can you guess how many people were at the gym? That's right, nobody. Just me. So I had a whole gym with about 40 treadmills, and I was the only one on the treadmill and got the long run done. So similar to yourself. So I'm guessing you didn't have any ice, because the predicted forecast was like -5, blizzards, snow. As I say, I know there was some of that up north, but it did predict it for the whole of the UK. Mine was saying, -degrees, massive snow, blizzards, stay at home. And I'm thinking, so I done my long run yesterday and took a day off today. Got up in the morning, a little bit of sprinkling, but there was hundreds of people out running. It was totally fine, bit of slush. But again, just as you say, monitor and change and do that. But what I was going to ask was, in terms of MyFitnessPal and a lot of things you say you don't do now, do you think, having done that in the early days, that you've now developed it as a habit and you don't need to do it, even though you are doing it? Does that make sense?
I think so. Yes, it is a habit.
It was forcing you into a habit, yeah?
It was forcing me into a habit, yeah. I mean, one of the great things, even if I didn't, and I do use it because it's just become ingrained in me, just to log my food, it just becomes a habit. But even if I didn't use it, you kind of, because I've used it for quite a while, I've just gotten to know. I kind of know what I'm eating. I kind of can tot up an approximation of calories.
So you get that feeling, do you?
Yeah, absolutely. You get the feeling, and so I kind of know, if I mean, obviously it's still helpful to do it, because if you've done a run, and then how much more you need to eat, and all the rest of it, it's still helpful to do. But I get a pretty good feeling about what a dish might have, and how many of them I can eat and how much I can snack and all the rest of it. I get a pretty good feel for it.
Excellent. So you never get that feeling of just a waff of thin mince, monsieur, a little bit more? You literally stop when you've had enough, yeah? So no overeating.
I mean, I know what's enough. I mean, I'm always a bit hungry, to be fair, so I do eat, but I know what's enough when I've seen it on the app and say, all right, I've reached my calorie count, and that's it. So that's where I stop.
Oh, really? Yeah. It's a good sign. But in terms of everything you've mentioned, you've touched on some of the goals you've got for this year with London Marathon, sub 240, which I think is well within your capability, Joseph. And obviously, having come on the podcast, you will have positive vibes. I did have a very famous YouTuber on who was targeting sub 20, and he wasn't able to do that for Matt Fox. Do you know Matt Fox? Sweat Elite. Yes. So Matt Fox was on a podcast, I think, May of last year, and he was just about starting Chicago Marathon. So I wished him the very best of luck, and I said to him, I have 100% faith in you, Matt, that you'll go sub 220. And he did, and some.
Three times in a row, 3 times in short. Absolutely, I know, yeah.
So, I could say I've got some magic pixie dust here, but who knows, Joseph? We talk about mindset. I know you have every capability to do that, and you've got the European Championships in Madeira to look forward to. Is it? Sorry, not Madeira. Yeah, it is Madeira.
Yeah, it's Madeira. Yeah, it's Madeira.
I knew it's Portugal. I forget Portugal. Madeira is part of Portugal.
It is. Yeah,
that's where the famous footballer was born, wasn't it? Ronaldo.
Yeah,
it was born there. So you've got those heads. What are your long-term plans in terms of going ahead, Joseph? You just keep doing the same things. What are your long-term goals?
Well, beyond this year,
because you said you're in it for the long game, which is
I am
great
in it
to
for
hear.
the long. I am in it for the long game. I am.
You're going to keep running into your 90s and 100s. That's what we want.
Possibly, yeah. Who knows? But I am in it for the long game. I don't really set long-term goals in that way, multi-year goals. I kind of look at each year as it comes. I think if I get my target time at London, I think I'll probably decide to stop marathon running as a competitive thing, because at my age, if I get sub 240, I'm pretty happy with that. But I've really enjoyed sort of like the summer sort of track 5,000s, 3,000s, 1,500s, that sort of thing. So I intend to do more of that. I've been doing it for the last couple of years, more 5K road. Probably more those sorts of distances that I want to improve upon and get more success in. So that's probably where I'll go over the next, if I get what I need, if I get what I want at London. Yeah.
Right. If you don't, you're going to go for it again. Do you think?
Yeah.
Go for it again. Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, I will. Yeah. As I say, I want to get that target, and if I don't, then it won't be this year because I've already got plans for October. But yeah, I'll go again in April next year. Yeah.
I think
Berlin maybe.
Yes, in September of next year rather
Probably.
than this year. It's some great goals here. If you had one key tip, or you can have more than one, Joseph, but we'll go with one to start with. If you had one key tip for someone who's looking to get started in running, and they may be similar to yourself, they might be in their 40s when you started, or in your 50s when I started, or 60s. I did meet one lady who won the gold in her 70s, and she said she started running when she retired. So what would be the one tip you might want to give to someone about getting started in running and getting the best from running? Because clearly you've got some amazing benefits and best from running. What would you say to a beginner?
Gosh, I mean, we've talked about coaching, getting a coach, joining a club, and all those sorts of things. But I think actually, I'd say, just it goes back to the psychology of it. I think just believe you can do it and just enjoy it. And it depends what they want also. I mean, if it depends what someone wants out of running. Not everyone wants what I want or what we want. I mean, often people want to go into it for all sorts of different reasons, for health reasons and so on. But if they are competitive and they do want to be the best that they can be in terms of times and in terms of achievements, then believe you can do it, because there's nothing but you holding you back. And that's it. Just to believe. That's probably my key tip.
I think that is brilliant, because the belief is everything, and we can achieve, almost whatever we want, really. It's just about just getting out there, and it's been absolutely brilliant. What I do have, Joseph, often when we come towards the end, not the very end, but towards the end, what we call a fast, five and furious, just a bit of fun, a bit of light-hearted, but it's just to see your perspective. And as I've said with others, if you have watched other podcasts, there's no right or wrong answer. So A or B, got to look at where the camera is, A or B. There's no right or wrong. There's no order or whatever. It's just totally random. It's funny, you have mentioned some of these as we were going through, so I wondered whether you'd read my questions. You have mentioned it, but we'll start off with, what's harder, to finish a marathon or run a fast 5K?
Yeah, I think running a really fast 5K is probably harder.
Brilliant. Yeah. Okay. Nike or Adidas?
Nike, no question.
Nike, right.
No question.
What do you think you prefer, training in hot weather, really hot weather, or torrential rain?
Oh, wow. Okay, I'm going to go for hot weather, not because I do well in hot weather, but just because of the training effects. It's like a bit like the poor man's altitude.
Exactly. I like that. Because you did mention earlier about when it's raining, you just get out and run anyway. So I like that attitude. So from your previous sporting events, what do you prefer, football or snooker?
Oh, they're very different sports. I'm probably going to go. I'm probably going to go for football.
And right, and then in terms of carbing up, last but not least, paella or pasta?
Well, my wife's Italian, Donato, and we have an awful lot of pasta in this household. So I'm going to go pasta.
It's got to be pasta. Very, very diplomatic there, Joseph. I do like that. I have to say, I've had an absolute blast chatting with you, Joseph. We'll have to get you back on, talk about progress and how you conquered your sub 240, because I have every confidence in you doing that. And I know when we did meet at the GB Masters Road Race, we had a bit of a laugh, and I knew straight away. I thought, I've got to get you on, Joseph. So I really do appreciate you taking the time coming on this. It's a Sunday for everyone who's watching whilst we're recording this. I'll let you know when it is published. But it's been brilliant, Joseph. I hope you've enjoyed this.
Yeah, been brilliant, Donato. Thanks for having me on.
My absolute pleasure. And as I say, I wish you all the very best in the future, not just with your running, but also, with the pasta eating and fun with all the coaches. And I'll keep an eye out for Kevin Quinn, because he sounds like an amazing coach. The fact that he, brought that to you and offered that, brought the opportunity. I do know lots of coaches who don't even mention it. It's almost like, they don't want to scare people, but it's great that there are coaches like Kevin who are encouraging talented athletes like yourself to take up international running. And now look at you. You know, you've got that shiny medal you can wave there. Yeah. Gold. Da, da, da. I won't break into song because that will really kill off all the viewers there. But no, thank you so much, Joseph.
Thanks very much.
Buenos dias, adios, and buonasera. Thank you, and see you all soon.